Welcome back to Mortal Kombat Special Forces. So we're still in the sewers, but don't worry, we'll leave. Don't worry, we'll leave. We'll leave soon enough. We already have all free access codes, so we can use all of them. Look at this. The hidden realm exceeds expectations. Notice how there's letters that are underlined. So that's your cue. T-R-E-E. It spells free. Sorry, there's an H there. I forgot about the H. E-V-L-E-W-T 12. There you go. Except this one is you actually have to also backwards, even rear. This one is even written backwards. So okay,
welcome back to Mortal Gear Combat, Jack Seater.
Yeah. So we have 3 and 12, and now N-I-E-N. So 9, basically. So we have 3, 12, and 9. That's the 3 numbers that we're looking for. Okay then. So yeah, this is this game's idea of a puzzle. Okay.
Okay, sure, why not?
It's not a very good puzzle though, is it?
Okay, access computer. So yeah, let's just put up 3, 12, 9. There you go.
Okay.
All right.
All according to plan.
Yeah, that's the thing though. Looking at the presentation and everything around the game, its gameplay, if it weren't for the Mortal Kombat logo, wouldn't know this was meant to be a Mortal Kombat game.
No, it wasn't. Like this game.
Okay. You know what? To be fair, Jax is a recognizable enough character that you probably would be able to tell that. Hey, I recognize that guy from Mortal Kombat.
That is true, Joe. But at the same time, that brings up a good point. Like if you removed, like if you replace Jax's character model with a different character, and Kano with a different Kano and Jarek with a different character models, yeah, this would perfectly pass as just a generic third-party game by a generic developer on an internship that would just fall into obscurity. The only reason people even remember
Mortal Kombat, we can remember it for all eternity.
Yay! Because that's I failed to realize the good in that, but sure.
I love how you just Indiana Jones that guy.
Yeah, like I said, again, yes, there are combos that I could be doing, but why bother? I can just, shoot them, so it's much more convenient. I mean, why not, right?
I'd say it looks cool if you do it that way, but...
Yeah. I mean, you hardly even do any combat in the game, you just shoot people.
Yeah, not just that.
Shooting is technically combat, Dwibs.
Not just that, Joe.
Yeah, Mortal Kombat's about punching shit and breaking arms.
As long as it works, Dwibs, you should be the first to say that.
It looks cool.
To be fair, like we've mentioned, guns are no foreign thing to Mortal Kombat.
What I'm seeing here, it barely works.
Yeah.
Well, okay, that's the thing, Dwibs. Guns have been in movesets before in Mortal Kombat before, so...
Yeah, and that's the whole shtick with Strider. He uses guns, taser, grenades.
and even Cassie Cage uses guns all the time in her moves. So.
Sonya uses drones in the new timeline too.
Yeah. So, that's the thing, Joe. But yes, they would look cool visually, I guess. But the thing, in terms of practicality, it's just much better to just use the guns because that way the game will be over faster.
Okay. Question: would you say that the combos even look cool when you can pull them off?
Not really.
Then blast away.
There's nothing here you can obtain from the combos that you can't obtain in much cooler ways from the actual Mortal Kombat games, Jova, so...
Oh, wait, but hold on, you have a limited amount of ammo, so that's gotta add some difficulty, right?
That's because I activated the cheat code that the game comes with.
So I guess technically if we were playing this game without the cheats, there would be that semblance of balance.
Actually, that is a good segue, Luis.
Huh?
Do you know if there is a Gaming in the Clinton Years episode of this?
Maybe. I'll see if I can find it.
Great. A character who ambushes me without having me any. They will find a key card. Yeah, that's what the level. That's what the levels boil down.
Maybe by that point, Maybe by that point the show was on this last week, so this came out
Sorry,
in 2000,
Pedro.
so
Sorry, Pedro. What were you saying?
The gameplay loop in this game boils down to this. You start a level, you go through it and shoot any enemy in sight. Eventually you come across a door or a computer you need to access. So go around, explore the level until you find either the key card if it's a door or access codes if it's a computer. Do that, open the door that's locked, keep and do rinse repeat until the level is
Find the
over.
computer room.
Okay. So to be fair, okay, let's assume you weren't playing this with the cheats here. Is the gameplay loop arguably more balanced because you have more of a limited set of ammo, so then that kind of calls for you to do more melee combats?
The game is still easy, Jova, because it's very easy to accumulate ammo, and it's also very easy to accumulate health packs. So trust me, the game itself is not hard if you know what you're doing. It's more
Okay. On a scale of Resident Evil to Call of Duty, how easy is it to get ammo in this game?
Ammo's all over the place in various rooms, so I guess about the average thing that you expect. Okay, how about this? Let's say something not as not on the level of hard as like in Resident Evil 1, of course. I will argue it's Resident Evil
6.
Well, I don't know if I go that far.
Damn!
yeah.
Hold on, you can tell me later, please. Go on, Pedro.
Not to mention, well, with 6, it's more so the co-op partner that you have that saves you all the time rather than so much of having an abundance of ammo. I will argue.
I distinctly remember you find a lot of ammo, at least in Chris's campaign.
Well, yeah, Chris's campaign.
Oh,
Chris's campaign is basically just a watered down Gears of War anyway. How about this? We'll go with Resident Evil 4.
Fair enough.
Fair enough.
Alright, yes, Libs?
There isn't a Gitsy on this game, but there is a Gitsy on Mortal Kombat Mythologies.
Oh man, I can't even begin to imagine George Wood getting through with the game because even the cheats don't really do much for him.
I mean, if you want to watch it after this part, I mean, it's only a minute.
Sure.
Wait, there's only that long?
Jova, the Flights of Fancy type of review show was very fast paced. George Wood will potentially have a 40-second review, but it's mostly like 35 seconds talking about something else, and the last 5 seconds say, oh, by the way, the game that is in the title sucks. Bye.
Wow.
Oh, that's not even counting those add on a minute of talking about cheat codes and hints to get through the game.
One thing I haven't mentioned is that there's as you can see right there, as you can see on the screen, there's an experience system. Again, just like Mythologies. Why do we even need an experience system in this game? Like
the game was actually built also around that. I could actually imagine being an incentive, also for replay value. But no, we don't really, go for that extra mile.
All it does is increase your max HP, and I think gives you more
and
combo.
Unlocks new moves.
Yeah,
unlocks new moves. Again, similar to Mythologies. I get the idea that the thought process was similar.
Again, which
it's in that regard now, doesn't it?
Yes, you'll get to unlock more combos that you'll never use because the gun is just much more convenient.
What if you had a gun?
You'd shoot everything, and you'd win. Doesn't that sound like a marvelous time, children?
Well, if this was a Gears of War game, sure, but it's not. I'm okay with shooting everything in sight. That's what games like Gears of War are for. But this game doesn't even do gunplay good anyway. I mean, see, here's the thing. The gunplay in this game works basically like the gunplay in Metal Gear Solid, but that's okay because Metal Gear Solid focuses on stealth, not on gunplay. So even when you do have to use gameplay, it's sparingly. So it becomes much more manageable. This game, on the other hand, focuses entirely on the gunplay, and as a result, it's much more noticeable that the gunplay is just incredibly basic and not at all engaging. Go ahead. No, carry on. You were saying something?
Oh God, what was I talking about before we went on that tangent?
Let me use this instead while you collect your memories to mention something about this. The voice acting credit. We already mentioned Jax and Gemini. Voice
now I
credits.
remember.
Go on, Joe. I'll mention later.
I was gonna say, sure, it sure would be a shame if people started to wonder, hey, why doesn't Jax just use guns in the main Mortal Kombat games if they're this effective for him out here?
Okay, he occasionally uses some of them in later games, but that's pretty much it. His main point of attraction is still the guns. Yeah, I mean the guns that are his biceps. But no, there you go. The only other credited roles are a voice actor for Kano, David Allen, and then a couple of people for additional voices: Herman Sanchez, Carlos Pesina, of course, Kerry Hoskins, and Kyle Watt.
Oh, Kerry Hoskins. That's one of that's Sonya's actress at this time. But Sonya doesn't have a single line in this game.
Again, additional voices, probably some female mooks or Tasia, I think.
Oh. Whatever.
Also remember, Sonya was apparently supposed to be in this game, so I wonder.
Maybe she actually did record some lines at some point, but
and those got recycled for like the grunts of some enemies.
Yeah, that's another thing. But there you go, Dibs. Just like Theo said. Okay, perfect.
Again, there are so many things that you could be putting here to spice things up, like say collectibles in the form of say dog tags or former member of special forces or something.
Yay! I love it when I'm being shot by an enemy that I cannot see where he is because
I love how Jax contorts himself like a puppet all the time.
Seriously. Again, no map system, no Sultan radar on the screen. I have no way of knowing what's around the corner.
Those are things that even the classic Zelda trilogy eventually covered. Come on.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting. Well, it depends. Like, the map of the original Zelda game on the NES was very...
I say eventually, over the course of the trilogy. And even the first Zelda game at least had a semblance of a map.
Yeah.
It was definitely not a good map, but at least a semblance of a map. This doesn't even have that.
Yeah. That's why nowadays when you play Zelda 1, I recommend definitely playing the recent Zelda Redux Act that the community made, where it implements a much better map system that the game becomes much more newcomer friendly as a result. Aside from other quality of life improvements.
I get the feeling we'll be using that version for our inevitable commentary.
That's what I was planning, yes, because it's just
it makes sense.
It's just you have no idea it makes so much difference because that game aged like spoiled milk.
Don't get me wrong. It is definitely a game that I treasure in the sense that it got us the series, and I'd argue that for the time it came out, it was a good game. It is definitely one of the quintessential examples of just aging terribly.
And even then, by the time Zelda 1 came out, I think we already had 4 Ultima games by that point. And Ultima was using a map, I think, even so it can be even argued some aspects that you can tell that it was Miyamoto's first non-platforming game,
I have to say, I know that it's the way the camera is, but the gameplay implies that Jax literally sees these mofos coming at him, but doesn't do a thing.
Nope.
Because we can't see them, but he technically should be able to see them. It's like those cutscenes when you have a character show up and surprise a character while they're still facing said character, like in Resident Evil 2.
Yep. It's the gameplay design of Metal Gear Solid, but without an actual good game designer to make sense of this.
And again, there is nothing to spice things up. The only thing that this game has going for that spices the dullness is the experience point system that incentivizes you on killing as much enemies as you can. But even so, it's bare bones and, like Pedro mentioned, a bit out of place because it's not well developed. Like I mentioned,
and rendered useless.
Simple collectibles that are tied to the story are what can make a difference between having a dollars of this game and something like, say, Captain America Super Soldier. A lot of part of the charm of Captain America Super Soldiers is how the presentation and the collectibles allow you to be more immersed in what is going on and incentivizes you to look to look for and explore the levels, look what there is. Even if the performance tanks a lot and some level designs in terms of color palette don't look super stellar, you're at least involved with it. You want to keep playing and see if you can collect everything and stuff. But here, this is you feel your skin cells dying every second that passes.
Yeah.
I mean, all the levels look the bloody same.
Yeah.
It's all great. I mean, I know Mortal Kombat isn't exactly the most brightly coloured thing in the world, but even by that standard, it's just a really dull looking.
The main
graphics.
And again, probably due to the rushness. Oh no, I think you are getting on the boss right now.
The main series games do a good job in actual.
Yeah, it's Tazia. There you go.
Oh boy, Tazia, and her powers are that she steals.
She has swords and teleportation.
So wait, isn't there a One Piece character that could do that? Use smoke or something?
Okay, to be fair, Ribs, at this point, at least someone in the One Piece universe has the kind of. If you think of any power, someone in the One Piece universe has that kind of power at this point. But get this, Jova. Aside from No Face, the Black Dragon clan of this game shows up and gets referenced in the Mortal Kombat X comics. All of them, actually. Kano, Jarek, Tazia, and Tremor.
Oh, wow. And let me guess, they have more to do there than in this game.
Yes, they actually have some personality, I can tell you that.
So, what are their overall personalities?
Okay, Jarek wants to usurp Kano because he's an opportunist prick. And Tazia wants to follow him around, but also wants to backstab him as soon as he can, which is kind of fitting with the Black Dragon clan. They're a bunch of scavengers who recycle technology into cybernetics onto their own, and they hate the rest of our clan, basically. So they work as a bit of mercenaries. Here we go.
Jax to Gemini, do you copy?
Yes, Jax, I'm here. Any news?
Oh yeah. I just the twin-bladed honey. Too bad I had to take her out though. That Tazia sure was a looker.
Jax, Jesus Christ.
Jax, she was literally a member of the committee that have slaughtered many of your friends here. I get that she may have looked hot as you can look in 32-bit, but still, man, really?
One of the thugs let explode that the Black Dragon
like,
one of the corporate
ugh, talk about Bathos.
as a cover for their base of operations.
Gibbs' favorite.
They won't say which one.
Well, Tazia sure wanted to stop me from going any further, so I've got a feeling I must be very close to their hideout.
I hope so, because you didn't say anything in the game, huh?
Chance I get it. Jack's out.
No, you mean to tell me
Okay,
that
I mean, Jax's voice of this game isn't that bad.
it's
but,
when he has to emote that's a problem.
But it's a combination of that, and half the time he just sounds like he's just directly reading the script. It's like we said before, you know things are bad when Ed Boon, a guy whose main job isn't voice actor, can do a much better job emoting than you.
Yeah.
And with so little dialogue compared to this as well.
Mm-hmm. But no, to go back to that previous point, no, that's the thing, Jova. And I've said this before, like, even as someone who grew up with the game, at this point in 2021, Jova, oh yeah, I forgot about this, hold on. Basically, you can check cars for their license plates, and you can see their, oh, there you go, push the left button. Messages, and you can check them back here if you want. There you go. Basically, this is yet another puzzle. Read the car license plates and memorize them, because later we're gonna have to input a number where you can mix, which involves all these things.
I guess
Of
I had a
course.
feeling that the license plates. I guess I had a feeling that the license plates numbers would play a part later, because otherwise, why would
It's
you?
a neat
give players
puzzle,
that
Jova,
opportunity?
for a point-and-click game.
Yeah.
Not for this kind of game.
Like, okay, how much they asking us to to memorize these? Like, we can
You don't need
check
to
back on them, right?
You don't need to memorize. You can just go into the messages menu on the pause screen and
The
check
game
them.
is surprisingly generous in keeping that one. A lot of games would not have given the luxury and actually told you to write paper, pen and paper.
Yeah.
Yeah, let's don't get me wrong. I get for some games, but not this kind of game. Mortal
No, not really for this one. Usually I kind of enjoying that thrill, but not for this one.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's Mortal Kombat, not Ace Attorney.
Or King's Quest. I would totally love. I'm a bit self-aware. Point-and-click game starring Mortal Kombat characters killing others in a more slow fashion.
Oh,
And
wouldn't that be
having
interesting?
snarky comments about it. Probably starting Johnny Cage. That works. That could work better. Something
Hey,
like
Joe, Teo, Raiden free.
Raiden.
Ha 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 ha.
Oh, don't you see? It was always Jax's destiny to be involved with Raiden or some crap
also.
like that.
Clearly.
No, something like the Lin Kuei clan attacking like Johnny Cage while he's filming in a studio. And he has to do creative ways to kill them or something. I don't know. I get there is some
That
potential
could
to
be
do that.
interesting, yeah.
So yeah, we have plate 1 of 1 and 1 of 4. So clearly there must be a plate 1 of 2 and 1 of 3. So we have to find those first.
Mr. Evil's secretary or whoever was in charge of this, was it a wise idea to put the code in easily findable license plates in the garage?
I guess it's
So a lot of these people don't really read
Baraka Zero.
the evil over. Don't really read the evil overlord list, Jova.
Kintaro.
Okay, and look, I get it. Maybe you could argue, who would think to check license plates? Well, the fact that you put something that is literally the key to solving it in there, whereas, the people of your committee should know how to get in already, because if they mess up, then that's their bad. Why would you do it like this?
Sophia 9.
Lol.
Alright, there you go. Let's check the messages. So we have 1,
Hey.
1, 1, 4, 1, 6, 1. Oh, so there is even more than 4.
Can you imagine the existential crisis Jax would have if one of them was called Jax?
Midway. Ha 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 ha. You're so cheeky, guys. Okay. 1, 2,
Why do we get a
3,
message every
4,
time we
5,
collect the
6.
license? Let me guess. It's probably to notify you that you got an important item.
Yeah, messages. Every time you receive a message for whatever reason, the game notifies you. Cell phone style. So, yeah. Okay, we've got 6 license plates. Let's see if we can find... Let's see, okay, have we checked that one? We already have, yes. Okay.
Okay, now I'm definitely starting to feel this game's drag with bits like this.
Yeah, it is. Like, these puzzles were completely unnecessary, and all they do is pad the game out. It's clear that these were here just to make sure the game was just long enough to warrant full price.
Again, can you imagine the poor souls would have to pay $60 for this?
Yeah.
Jesus.
But just to finish my argument, and I've said this before, so okay, here's how the puzzle works. You'll notice that there's only one number in each of the plates, except of course for the word midway. So that is your cue. Remember, because you can only enter numbers in the key card. So obviously, you have to enter the numbers that you can find there, and obviously the order of the plates also tells you what the order is, basically.
Obviously.
And that's the basic gist of it. But just to finish, no, even as someone who grew up with it, Jova, I will say that I consider here's the basic gist of Zelda 1. Zelda 1 is a game that is much better run in 2021. It works much better as just a piece of art to be observed in a museum rather than a game to be played, because the way the game plays right now is just so outdated and really doesn't to the point where it just doesn't really. It's just much better to just admire it for its historical significance rather than because when you actually play it, as a newcomer at least who doesn't know what to do, the game requires a shit ton of pixel hunting, a lot of obtuse guessing on the part of the player that it's just frustrating.
I would argue that I would argue.
Both Link's Awakening and A Link to the Past are much better alternatives as your first major Zelda game.
Yeah.
I would argue that while Zelda 1 is definitely not a recommended first entry, I'd still say that it is still playable enough to definitely warrant at least one playthrough. I would argue. Yes, it is by no means perfect, and yeah, you're probably better off playing it via a hack that has a better map system. But okay, the botched map system and weird riddles aside, it's arguably still playable. Well, okay, except for the fact that you need that one particular weapon or you can't win. That is like one thing that is definitely way outdated.
Not to mention the botched translation that caused some hints to the puzzles to become incomprehensible, like grumble, grumble. Yeah, like Johnny himself put, obviously grumble, grumble means you need to get a piece of meat to give it to this moblin, right?
And of course, the dongo doesn't like smoke.
Mm-hmm. That's another thing that hack that I told you about does, Jova. It actually provides an actual more proper translation that translates the original Japanese intent much better.
I think one thing we can agree, the original Zelda could use a remake.
Definitely, much more than Link's Awakening. Because Link's Awakening, if you play the original Game Boy Color version, it's still very much playable and very fun. The great story, all that good stuff. One of the best worlds the series has created. That game aged a lot better. Like Zelda 1, now that game definitely needed a remake instead of Link's Awakening, if you ask me.
Like, and don't get me wrong, Zelda 2 is infamous for its own reasons, but
yeah,
Zelda 1.
I'm surprised that Nintendo over the years pushed a lot of stuff, like the first couple of Mario games redone with the Mario World style, but we never bothered to do a similar thing with Zelda.
I get the feeling that Zelda was somewhat more sacred to them in that regard, or maybe it was a request not to remake it. I forget the details around the time here, but who knows? Maybe eventually they'll hire Blue Point Games to. If Sony don't buy, if Sony. Okay, mind you, if Sony don't buy up Blue Point anyway.
That's a pipe dream, Jova. That's a pipe dream, Jova. I seriously doubt that
Nintendo coming to Blue Point or Sony not buying up Blue Point?
No, yes. Nintendo coming to Blue Point. That's when it comes to handling their franchises, unless it's next level games, Nintendo just prefers to give their properties to their own teams.
I don't know. They gave that Samus Returns ones to that other Spanish company.
That's the thing, Joe. Aside from Retro and and next level games, Nintendo very rarely allows Western companies to handle their products. Mercury Steam was really one of the new surprises where they did this kind of thing for the Metroid 2 remake.
And it paid off immensely.
Mm-hmm. It's one of those cases. I seriously doubt Nintendo would be willing to give Blue Point a big budget to remake Zelda 1 in a big AAA fashion on the level of Breath of the Wild.
Honestly,
I would love that. I would love that, but
I don't think they really need it. Do something at least on a similar idea on what Link's Awakening was supposed to be, just without having to cram into a particular art style that alienates people like the Link's Awakening remake did. Do it something that feels more a natural evolution without having to instead draw it out and make it look like Breath of the Wild Skyward Sword, because at that point you're alienating from the other direction,
It's more so the fact that it's kind of similar to what.
Also, we're still in this parking lot, by the way.
Yes.
Yeah. Why are we still in this parking lot? I thought we found out the code.
The Code told us that we need to find.
Unfortunately, Joe, phase 2 of this puzzle has even more license plates.
That's the thing. We're not even really doing much. We're literally just searching for cars.
True, but now we're done and we can open this door.
Congrats. Is there anything more you need us to do? Do you need us to find car keys?
No, actually, we're done with the level.
That was
a level, right?
Next.
See you for the next part.
See ya.